Hello everyone! Today I'm gonna film a bit of a different video whilst I finish up this sweater, my first knitted sweater. I cannot wait for it to be done. I just need to finish one of the sleeves and then block it, and then hopefully it's gonna fit. But yeah, today I wanted to talk to you about 15 things that you could consider weird or maybe just curious about Italy, things that you might not expect. And I've lived in Italy as a child and through my teens. I left when I was about 19, and then I came back when I was when I just turned 30. So all my adult life, or most of my adult life, was lived abroad. And since I came back, I've noticed quite a few things that I never paid attention to. And so my experience is as an Italian that has lived abroad a long time. Just a few disclaimers before I start getting into it. Obviously, we all know the stereotypical stuff about Italy, that it's a very rich country in culture, that the people are mostly welcoming, that there's a wide variety of food, and it's generally a well-loved country around the world. And I'm not putting any of that into discussion, but there are a few things that I think foreigners don't really realize about this country, and then you might be, I don't know, surprised or maybe even disappointed if you visit. And if you are one of those Italians that are like, well, if you don't like it, you should just leave, I would apply your same reasoning to this video. So let's get started. First thing about Italy that I think people don't expect is a few things about coffee. So coffee culture is big in Italy, but not in the way that you might think of. We don't really go for coffees to chat. We don't really go for coffees to socialize as you might do in the UK or in other countries. For that, we have aperitivo, which is what you have before dinner. You go for like spritz or like some kind of aperitivo, like cocktail kind of thing. That's really where you socialize. You don't really go for coffees as much. For people, coffee is more like something that, you know, you go in, you drink a coffee, and then you leave. You don't really stick around that long. We mostly like to stick around alcohol. Also, takeaway coffees aren't really a thing in Italy. So if you go to a town coffee place and you ask for a takeaway coffee, they're not gonna have the cups. In bigger cities, like if you go to Milan or things like that, then they will have takeaway coffees, but it's really not a common thing in Italy to have takeaway coffees. And something else about coffee is that you don't really see people working at coffees like you see, again, maybe in the UK. Most coffee places don't have plugs, and it's not really well seen to go at a cafe and you occupy the table for very, very long. So you won't see people working on their computer in coffee places, not often, and not outside of cities. And lastly, Italians don't have milky coffees outside of breakfast. So like cappuccino, latte macchiato, that kind of coffees, they're only drunk at breakfast. I will say I ask for cappuccino even in the afternoon. I don't really care. I really like my cappuccino. But before when I was younger, I would have never done that. I got that habit after living in the UK for a while. So you can get cappuccino even after the breakfast, but it's not something that Italians normally do. You probably heard about how awful bureaucracy is in Italy, and I'm here to tell you that it's even worse than what you think. It feels like there's a room full of people whose job is making everybody's life as complicated as possible, and they take pleasure in it. So whatever you need to do that requires papers, you'll need to have the patience of a saint. You need to do a meditation before you go into the office, do some breathing exercises, because they will drive you insane. And most of the times it ends up being more expensive than what it needs to be. So whether it is that you want to start a business, or you need some documents done because of taxes or ID, whatever it is, prepare yourself. Last year I had to switch my driving license from UK to Italian. I lost my cool. I'm not gonna lie. At the office, I've lost my cool because it felt like they were taking a piss out of me, honestly. On the same topic of bureaucracy, when you move houses, you change address, there's gonna be an actual policeman that comes over to check that you live there. It's gonna check your ID, and they're gonna come randomly. You can't tell them, you know, I'll be here on Thursday night. They'll come where they want to come because the whole point is to check that you actually live there. And I know in the UK they absolutely don't do that. I don't know if in other countries they do that. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's something different. I think I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers with this one, but I feel that Italians think, again, I'm generalizing here, okay? Most Italians think that they are the best at everything. Whether it's the kitchen, the cooking, the landscape, the culture, the fashion, the music, the woman, the cinema. Italians always do it best. And so I feel like there isn't much curiosity into other cultures, other places, because they think that there's no point in looking around because we are the best at everything. And this, whenever there's Italians that go abroad, the first thing they say is like, yeah, but I didn't eat very well. I was so glad to come back to Italy because I didn't like the kitchen over there, the cuisine over there. And I just find that so annoying because it's like, you want to go places and have the same cuisine as in Italy? Like, what's the point of traveling then? There's no tap water in restaurants. They don't serve tap water. They only serve water in bottles. And if you ask for tap water, they will look at you like if you asked for pizza with dog poop on it. It's really not something that is common in Italy. Going back to the food, because Italians think that they have the best cuisine, they only eat Italian food. And in the shops, you're not gonna find much that isn't Italian. And even if you want to go out, the choices are very limited. You know, you're gonna find the odd kebab, Chinese, and sushi, but that's kind of it. I feel that it is improving because even here in the mountains, a Thai opened not too far from here, and it's really in the middle of nowhere. So I feel that things are changing a little bit, but don't expect, you know, UK levels or like, yeah, North America levels of variety in the food. Something that I do enjoy about Italy is that there's still a fair amount of independent shops compared to what I know, which is the UK mainly. Where most of the places where you go grocery shopping are chains. Here you can find lots of grocery shops, but also, you know, bookshops, DIY stores that are owned and run privately. Oh, I made a mistake here, damn it. One thing that I noticed since I came back to Italy is how much Italians love to complain, me included, but we never do anything about it. It's like we accept our fate, and it's as if we think that there's nothing that we can do. It's kind of strange because we complain, but then when there's people actually trying to do something about the things that we complain, then we complain because they are causing an inconvenience. So it's a very strange dynamic. There are protests and like activism in Italy, but overall I feel that the majority of the population just puts their head down and kind of, again, accept things how they are. If you go to the grocery shop, you need to wear a plastic glove if you want to pick up any veggie or any fruit. And if you don't, people are either gonna stare at you or somebody from the shop is gonna tell you to put the damn glove on. And that's due to hygienic reasons. Like, Italians can be quite fixated with hygiene, which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like the fruits, who knows where they're coming from, who knows how many people handle them, you know. It's not gonna be me putting a glove on that's gonna change the amount of stuff that there is on that apple skin. I personally find it a bit annoying because I think of all the plastic that is produced every single day because everybody has to wear a glove anytime they want to pick up a fruit, and yeah, I feel it's a bit too much. Staying in the topic of shops, in Italy most shops will close at the lunchtime. So if you need anything at lunchtime, you'll have to wait. Most shops close from 12:30 to 3:30, or like 1 to 3, like those kind of times, and they close around 7:30, so they stay open a little bit longer than what it is in the UK. Big chain shops like, let's say, Lidl, like an H&M, they might stay open during those hours as well, but the majority of shops will close. And in Italy, it's not that all the grocery shops close on Sunday and Monday, let's say. Especially within independent shops, they all have different closing days. So let's say the DIY shop close by closes on Tuesday. The photography shop closed on Wednesday. The pet shop closes on Mondays. So anytime that you want to go to a shop, especially if it's an independent shop, you need to check that it's actually open, because they normally have Sunday that's closed and either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the shop. So you always need to check before you go, or just simply remember if the shop is going to open that day. One of the things that I love the most about Italy, and it's something that I rediscovered in my adult life, because when I was a kid I didn't really go to those parties, but it's every town, or most towns in Italy, no matter how small they are, they have their own party that goes on every year. So they might have a party that has to do with a specific food or event in the town, and they usually go on in summer and autumn. And you can have basically every weekend there's gonna be a party that you can go to and eat well, and there's usually music, dancing and wine normally. Don't expect anything fancy, those are like really down to earth kind of parties, but they are a lot of fun. They're called sagre. Italians tend to stay in their family house for much longer than in other countries. It's not uncommon for people in their 30s or even 40s to still be living with mom and dad. And I have so much to say on the topic, but yeah, I think that people leave the family house when they want to go and live with their partner. So if they don't find a partner, then they just don't leave. And also, of course, there's financial reasons as well, but I think it's very much a cultural thing that I never understood. Okay, this is kind of strange, but I find that Italy has lots of rules, but Italians don't want to follow them even if they benefit them. And so because they don't follow the rules, then the state puts in place even heavier rules so that people respect them. But by doing that, even the people that want to respect the rules can't do it, and so they start not following the rules. I don't know if this makes any sense, but like, I'm thinking about, for example, taxes. So most people that have their own business, they don't pay most of the taxes. They don't do receipts. It's called nero, which is when you don't declare what you're actually making. And so to fight that, the state puts even harder rules, which means that even people that were paying the taxes before, they can't follow the rules because everybody else isn't, and so they have to pay for everybody else. It's just very strange. And I don't know if this is a Mediterranean thing or if it's just around here. Let me know if it's the same in your country. One thing that I did miss when I was living in UK is traveling by train. In the UK, the trains are so expensive, whilst in Italy there's a really good network of train line, and you can go pretty much anywhere in Italy for fairly cheap. And obviously you're not gonna have the best service. Like Italian trains are not known for having a really great service. They are often late. In winter they are cold, in summer they are hot, they're usually smelly and busy. But they do allow you to travel around for fairly cheap, and most train stations are in the town center, so you don't have to go and take another bus or another method of transport to reach the center. You can take a train, and then you get exactly in the town center, visit it, and then you can go somewhere else. And that is something that I do find cool. And the last thing I thought about is the fact that if you get a work contract that is a tempo indeterminato, which means it doesn't have a end date, then it's gonna be really hard to fire you. So if you get one of those jobs, you're kind of set for life. And those are mostly common in like government jobs, like, you know, the postal service or like teachers. And it's good because we don't want to get fired. So Italy is actually quite good for workers' right, if you're properly declared, obviously. But then on the other side, you see a lot of people that really just do the bare minimum to keep their jobs because they know that they're not gonna get fired. So even at the postal service, which I have a lot of beef with, there's a lot of people that don't know how to do the job, or just they don't want to do it because they know that they're gonna be paid at the end of the month and they're not gonna get fired even if they just don't put the effort in. And that can be a little bit frustrating. Same thing for the bureaucracy, what I was telling you before. Most of the people that are employed in those bureaucrat offices have those kind of contracts where they know they're not gonna get fired, so they just can be rude and, you know, just again not work the way they are supposed to do. I forgot about point 15, which was one of the points that I was most looking forward to speak about, which is that doggos are allowed in most places. So like coffee places, bars, restaurants, you can take your dog, even if it's a large size dog, with no problem. Like public transport, they're allowed in trains. They're not allowed in most buses, but they are allowed in trains. If you're looking for a flat, the owners can say that they don't allow pets, but it's not as common as it is in the UK, where I remember when I was looking for a flat with Odie, it was a nightmare. It's easier here, and also they are allowed in it's a recent thing, this one, but they're allowed inside grocery shops. There are specific trolleys that you can use for dogs, and you can put them inside the trolley and you can go and do your grocery shopping, which some people might think it's a bit excessive, but you have to consider that Italy gets really hot in summer, and if you need to go somewhere and you have your dog with you, you cannot leave them in the car. So I think it's really cool that they give you the option, you know, to just yeah, do the shopping with your dog. I can't do it with Vongola, he's far too big, but maybe one day they will make big enough trolleys. But anyway, those were my 15 things that you might not know about Italy that you might find surprising. I would say Italy is a lovely country to visit as a tourist. To live in, it's a little bit more challenging for a set of reasons, and again, I'm generalizing. It depends so much on what your background is, the work that you're doing, where you want to live. There's a lot of factors to consider, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I haven't finished my sleeve yet, but I think I have only about half an hour to go and then I'm done. So I shall see you next time. Bye!